Well, just a little more than a week until the midterms, where control of the House and Senate hangs in the balance. Joining us now is CNN political commentator Alice Stewart and CNN political analyst April Ryan. April is also the author of Black Women Will Save the World, an Anthem. So to kick things off, I want to get a couple of rapid fire predictions from both of you. All right, ladies, I know you both, we're talkers and we're going to get to the analysis, but I want to get right to it here. Alice, first to you, quickly, look 10 days into the future. Tell us who's in control of the House.
Well, in the House will be Republicans. There's no debating that because the wind is at their back. Right now, wind is at the Republicans' back as well. A lot of these races that were Democrat-led 3 weeks ago, it's really tightened up.
April? Rapid.
Alice would like this. If the election would have happened today, Republican, Republican, Republican. If the election would have happened today.
All right. If. Alice, what about the Senate?
The Senate clearly wins at the Republicans' back. It has tightened up, and there's some key races where things have flipped. Right now, my money is on Republicans tightening up in the Senate.
Who do you think will control the Senate?
Republican.
You seem so depressed saying that, April.
No, but I don't want to always give it to Alice, but
But you are on this one because that's what the polls are showing. So Alice, where do you think the key Senate races are in Pennsylvania, Georgia, and Arizona? How do you think they're going to fall?
Look, 3 weeks ago, Democrats had the wind at their back because a lot of folks were focused on the abortion issue. Now it's all about economy and inflation. Key races that are tightened up, we've certainly seen Arizona, we've seen Pennsylvania. Ones that are flipping that I see, Georgia is a big one, potentially New Hampshire as well, and Arizona and Nevada.
What do you think, April?
Well, the economy is definitely a big source of conversation, and for a lot of people going to the polls, the GRIO and KFF did a study where 1,000 black voters said inflation, from housing to prices at the grocery store to gasoline prices. But the question is how it shows up at the polls and then this early election cycle as well. But I'm going to say a key race, that's been flipping back and forth that really so many people say should not be as close is Georgia, Raphael Warnock versus Herschel Walker. And Herschel Walker right now, according to Real Clear Politics, is leading.
Why do you think that is?
Look, I'm from Georgia. My family and friends are from there, and they are focused on the issues. They're focusing on the policies, the economy, inflation, and crime over and over and over. All of this personal information that has come out, all of these skeletons are not moving the needle. They are laser focused on the policies and not the personal aspects of this, and they are going to the ballot box and they are voting for Republicans. And you look at the large number of independent and undecided voters, nearly 8 out of 10 of them say that the country is moving in the wrong direction and they're ready for a change.
And that's a trend, of course, midterms, right? It is a trend that we see where then the voters shift and they say they vote for the party that's not empowering the White House. But I was just speaking to Gabriel Sterling, an election official, a top election official there in Georgia, and he's bracing for a potential runoff there between Herschel Walker and Raphael Warnock.
It depends. If someone gets beyond 50%, we don't have one, but it looks like it may not. And if there is a runoff, we have to see. Because right now, the abortion issue, you would think, and even before the issue came out, Raphael Warnock was winning, but now this Republican who says he is pro-life, who's allegedly driven someone to an abortion and paid for an abortion through a get well card. It's so juxtaposed to what the Republican Party is about, and he's winning at this moment.
Yeah. And I want to get to, we could go on about Georgia, so many other states to get to too, but there's also this news coming out about Paul Pelosi, Nancy Pelosi's husband, being attacked. In 2010, Alice, Republicans launched a Fire Pelosi campaign. Some of the images used were the speaker engulfed in flames. Republican Tom Emmer used the same Fire Pelosi hashtag in a tweet of a video of him shooting a gun. He defended that tweet this morning on CBS. Let's take a listen.
Do you not understand that that is suggestive to people who are in a bad state and in this current environment, how risky it is? As you're talking about the importance of lowering the rhetoric.
I disagree with you.
Is it wise for Republicans to dig in their heels like that? Does Margaret Brennan have a fair point here?
What everyone needs to think about right now is the well-being of Paul Pelosi and offering prayers to Nancy Pelosi and the Pelosi family and hope that he gets better soon. But also what we need to focus on is lowering the temperature, stop this divisive rhetoric, completely condemning this despicable behavior and doing everything we can to stop this kind of political violence and political conversation. That's the most important thing we can do. And anything that was done in the past in terms of this suggestive political violence, that should not happen, and it should not happen as we move forward. Again, the most important thing we can all do is offer our concern for the Pelosis, offer our confidence in the law enforcement as they investigate this, and certainly offer all the prayers we can give to the medical team that is providing him the medical care that he needs. But we need to let the investigation in terms of this play out before we jump to any conclusions. But most importantly—
What do you mean by that?
Yeah, because it's already been stated what happened, and it was very political. Very politically motivated.
I completely believe that it was politically motivated in terms of what he wanted to do and why he went there. But in terms of speculating too much, we need to let the investigation play out and let the investigators determine exactly what was the motive and why this is a deranged individual. This is a completely deranged individual that carried out an act of what appears to be political violence. And more than anything, we should condemn that kind of behavior from a deranged individual.
It's not just about condemning it, it's criminal. What happened was criminal.
Absolutely.
And I think, you know, the larger issue as we take a step back is there are a lot of, frankly, deranged people in this country. Yeah. And does it add fuel to the fire when you have tweets like what Tom Emmer had put out with, you know, him shooting a gun saying #fire Pelosi? Does that add fuel to the fire? And would you have liked to hear Tom Emmer say, look, you know, in hindsight, that probably wasn't the best move? I interviewed a Republican last night, James Comer, who told me we can all lower the rhetoric, including myself. Would you have liked to have heard that from him?
Absolutely. Across the board, any type of suggestive political tweets or graphics or language should absolutely be condemned. We all need to encourage each other and ourselves to lower the temperature because, again, there are deranged people out there and they will take this language and some of these suggestions and act on it. But we cannot have that.
And let's get to the conspiracy theory that this attacker was allegedly putting out there, this alleged attacker, I should say. Because, of course, innocent until proven guilty, so putting that out there, you know, he was putting out all kinds of conspiracies about QAnon, about COVID, and election denialism. I'm wondering if you think, because we just had this reporting from Isaac Dover tonight, saying Democrats are capitalizing on election denialism as a way to try to as a last-ditch effort to get voters to the polls. Do you think it will resonate with voters?
Capitalizing on election denialism.
And the threat to democracy.
And there is a threat to democracy. Can you say January 6th? Full stop right there. Now this moment that has triggered so many people who have been a target of many Republicans, it's not condemning. That's not just the piece that needs to happen. Not just condemning, but you need to add another layer. Let's push for charges to stop this, because people will stop when they feel that there's teeth and punishment. So condemnation is one thing, but throwing the full backing of law books, law, everything against the people who do this, that would make more of a statement than just, oh, I condemn this in this politically charged moment. But let's say Comet Pizza. We're talking conspiracies from years ago to conspiracies that led to January 6th to this moment. This moment is a very real moment, not just for the Pelosi family, but for the nation, because there is a tide that's turning. It's not just us talking about the issues. There's hate, there's vitriol, there's thoughts of death, hurt, destruction. The tide has changed and it's time to stop it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more in terms of pulling the full force of the law at people that engage in this.
Yeah. We're going to end on this agreement here between you two. Speaking of lowering the temperature and being more civil, that's a good note to end on. Thank you both.
Thanks.
Alice Stewart, April Ryan, appreciate it. Well, a Republican